Kira, I heard of this thing called colorblindness. What is it?
I'm so glad you asked. Some of my siblings are colorblind. It's when you can't distinguish between certain colors, often between red and green.
That's so interesting. So, are you and your sister colorblind?
So my sister and I actually are not colorblind, but 2 out of 4 of my brothers are colorblind.
Wait, that's a lot. Can you repeat that?
Yeah, come with me to meet my family. I'll show you. Let's show my brothers a colorblindness test, one by one.
Jacob, what letter is this?
I just see a bunch of dots.
As you just saw, Jacob is colorblind and has trouble distinguishing between the red and green dots.
Josh, what letter is this?
Y, like YMCA.
Josh is clearly not colorblind.
Nate, what letter is this?
That is an X.
Nate's lucky he's not colorblind because he wants to become a pilot, and people with colorblindness are actually not allowed to become pilots.
Theo, what letter is this?
I can't read it at all.
Theo, the youngest in the family, is colorblind, so we're going to shade in his box.
Wait, so only your brothers are colorblind? We learned about this in class. They're called sex-linked genes.
Exactly.
Sex-linked genes are genes located on the sex chromosomes X and Y. Most genes responsible for sex-linked traits are located on the encoding regions of the X chromosome. The X chromosome contains over 1,000 genes, many of which are essential for both males and females as they are unrelated to biological sex. However, the Y chromosome has far fewer genes, and so there are many genes that are only on the X chromosome, such as red-green colorblindness. Mutations in the red and green colorblindness genes affect how photoreceptors in the retina detect red and green light. In females, there are 2 X chromosomes, while males have only 1 X and 1 Y. Let's say a female has 1 mutated allele. The second X chromosome is wild type, meaning it has a normal allele, and this provides a sort of backup. So a female with 1 normal gene and 1 mutated gene is typically only a carrier. Let's say the male has the same mutated allele. However, since males only have 1 X chromosome, any mutation in the gene is expressed. This is called hemizygous. The male would be colorblind. Now let's look at the inheritance patterns of sex-linked genes. Say we have a normal, unaffected mother that happens to be a carrier, and a colorblind father. We're going to draw a Punnett square using Mendelian's laws of segregation. So our dad would pass down 1 mutated allele and 1 normal Y chromosome, while the mom would pass down 1 colorblind allele and 1 normal wild-type allele. This would produce 50% of daughters being colorblind, while the other half of daughters are only carriers. Whereas the sons, 50% would be colorblind, and the other 50% would be unaffected.
Exactly, except that in my family, my dad's not colorblind, so we know that my mom has to be a carrier.
Let's look at what's happening in Kira's family. Her father is not colorblind and so does not have a mutated allele. So her mom has to be a carrier. And so we see that 50% of sons are actually colorblind while 50% are unaffected. Meanwhile, half of the daughters are carriers for the colorblind trait, while the other half of daughters would be unaffected.
That's so cool. Exactly half your brothers are colorblind, exactly like the Punnett square.
Exactly, and who knows, maybe my sister and I are also like the Punnett square. Maybe half of us are carriers, or maybe none, or both of us. We won't know until we have kids. Interestingly, my grandparents also have the same inheritance pattern. My grandma, who's a carrier, gave her mutated X to my mom, who we already know is a carrier, and to my Uncle David, who's colorblind.
David, what are you wearing? What colors are those?
What do you mean?
Clearly, my uncle has trouble picking out his clothes.
Well, thanks for taking me along with your family.
Anytime.